did you know goldenrod makes an excellent tea?
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Aaron.
Me.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Or what's inside. You suck. Finally, we're going to reveal the... Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Tomic's... veteran of the comic book industry for 30 years. I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and this sucks.
Stew, and her name is Minerva Oaks. She's the flower of the flower coach.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Hey everybody, it is Aaron Live, and I am Aaron. I say this every time when I give the date. It's almost depressing to me because I can't believe how much time has gone by and how quickly it's going by. October 19th, 2025. I actually saw a few places with like Christmas stuff up today already. Crazy. We're not even through All Hallows Eve yet. And here we are with Christmas. I used to love going to the mall when I was a kid at Christmas time because it would always be decorated like well in advance because they're, pushing the Christmas shopping. And it always was so festive. And now, maybe with the grandkids now than getting presents. But I only have one grandkid that's like old enough to really kind of get excited about opening something and, so, but, maybe that'll bring back some of that old electricity that I used to feel back in the Christmas time when I was a younger, more energetic, better tempered individual instead of a grumpy old curmudgeon that I've become. My daughter and I went to it's kind of like a collectible mall, and it's not just collectibles, but old clothing and what do you call it? It's not really collectible, but anyway. And I walking around, I know there was a mirror, and I walked by the mirror, and I said, "Do you realize in 8 years I'll be a decrepit 70-year-old man?" Like 8 years. All right. Well, enough of this joy. Let's get on with the show, shall we? Let's see who's here. Corum joining us says, "I really need to read some more Dave Stevens comics." The sad thing is there really isn't that many. A lot of covers. He did a lot of covers, and we'll be looking at those today. But his like Rocketeer stuff was just such a joy to read because it was so well drawn and it was so nostalgic. And even though, way before my time, you still get that sort of nostalgia vibe, 1930s America. It probably wasn't as great as we like to think it was, but it does give you that kind of fun nostalgia feel that it was just and it came out in the 80s when the 80s were actually, when Reagan was president, it was kind of a carefree time. I'm not saying it was perfect or anything else, but everything felt like it was moving in the right direction, for about that decade. pretty much. And I don't know if I've ever really recaptured that sort of energy. But anyway, what was the point of any of this? I don't know. Dave Stevens, good stuff. I just wish there had been more of it, I guess is my point. Story stuff, not just art, but story stuff. Infamous Mr. Kirst is here. Creative Phase joining us. She wants to know if I saw Dave Sims' weekly update. I did not. I seem to be always being pulled in different directions and don't really, other than for promotional reasons, which is not as big a deal anymore since Wraith of God is, done. I'm not promoting it because the campaign's down. So I'm spending even less time on social media than normally. Let's see. Pastmaster Dan is here. He's pumping up my website. Thank you for that. Pete says, we need to schedule the MNCBA Falcon better so that we can keep Aaron busy and give him an excuse to miss the Gophers munching on the corn husks. That was a brutal and unexpected loss Friday night. And I was worried they may not play well, but boy, they might as well not even have shown up. So anyway, but I will recover. Let's see here. NPC Oasis is here. Says, good morning. Good morning. Where are you at? Mark Pengren's joining us. Stealth X5 says, yo, Pantheon's here. Glitch from across the pond is joining us. There's Pity Maw. Randy Howell all the way from Canada. There's Leg Kick, because Leg Kick is almost always here. I guess I blew that. I should say Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here. Let's see who else we got in there. Eric Boyd. He says Alphonse Mucha and Dave Stevens. Enough said. Indeed. Corey Landis is here. Still trying to figure out how the Rocketeers' pants don't catch on fire. It's the beauty of comics, my friend. The beauty of comics. Okay. Squeaky. Hey, Squeaky. I-974, Paul Taylor, of course, our resident biologist. Let's see. Spaceman is joining us. Gemini Dragon says, hail, Aaron. Hail the Buckeyes. It's nice that when your team is really good every year. I remember when Nebraska used to be really good every year. It's been a while. Been a long while. Marcus Killigrew, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge. I remember one blooper video Aaron did a long while ago where he forgot to edit out all of his burps. In retrospect, I wish I hadn't, because it's so funny. But then I was like, God, that's so ridiculous. It's just so unprofessional. But I was drinking something. Like it was carbonated stuff, right? And I'm shooting the video, and it would just be like, because you're shooting the video and it's not live, so you don't even think about it. So you're like, bah, bah, And then I played the video back, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think I uploaded the wrong one or forgot to cut it out or whatever. And it was up for like 15 minutes, and I realized, oh my gosh, because it's just me. Hey, look at this. Look at that. Oh, it's funny stuff. Let's see. Jerry Rasco is here. Let's see here. Gemini Dragon. We got Gemini, I'm sure. Goody Two Shoes. Wait, this ain't football? No. It's really difficult to mix. Should I say geek culture? Because I think that's too limiting, but for what we do here, but let's just call it geek culture. It's hard to mix geek culture with sports. And I'll tell you something interesting, a stat about, and this is an old stat, so it may not be accurate, but I bet it is still accurate. But it was that like only 20% of the entire population knew anything or cared anything about sports at all. Only 20%. And less than that, like half of that or something, was really passionate about sports. So although sports gets mainstreamed quite a bit, it's as much its own geek culture as comics and movies and toys are, right? It just seems more publicly acceptable, I guess. I don't know, but you don't really mix the two, because I start talking sports. You guys didn't show up to listen to me complain about Nebraska football. You came to let me talk about Kirby. So we're going to stick with this. and ignore this. Okay. There's Joseph Pantalon says he loves rock and roll. That is one thing you can cross over, but that's still sort of the arts. Music is still considered part of the arts, so that's still that goes with this crowd pretty well, I think. Gemini Dragon says I didn't cry with the loss. I didn't either. I used to when I was young. I used to get really ticked off when they lost and just frustrated. And now I'm just kind of like, when you start, it's funny when you start allowing things that are, I mean, you make things in your life as important as you want them to be. And when you start, like, your mood's getting affected by a sports team that you root for, you probably get maybe a little too involved. You need to back off a little bit. So, and I keep catching myself going, oh, I'm so depressed. I'm like, I'm depressed because a football team that I'm rooting for and no one on that team even knows who I am or cares. Why do I care so much? We just allow ourselves, I think, to get taken in by this stuff. Blue Boy Comics says, if you all need medical service or appointments, better get in fast. Premiums are about to double or triple. Now, of course, Blue Boy is a liberal, and so he likes to take his little shots at us conservatives. But I will say this problem began with Obamacare, and it's just continuing to be a major problem. And I pay so much for my premiums right now; it's ridiculous, just for one person. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about politics either. Michelle Bowers is here with her sword handy and ready for action. Headless Bourgeoisie says, why does it look like something is on fire in front of your comic rack, Aaron? Does it look like something's on fire? There's a dog bed back. Oh, what is that? Oh, you know what it is? There's trees outside my window and there's a light breeze moving them back and forth and the sun is shining. And so it's making that light move. See back there? It's not a fire. It's just the light being shown in through the window through the trees that are moving. Sean Clancy says, I'm not here. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. Sean, of course, big time art collector that I've known for years. He's bought some really nice pieces from me over the years. There's Geek Avenger. Says, I am still alive, just working a lot and a little CG discouraged. Hail chat, hail mods, hail Aaron. It's easy to get CG discouraged. Oh, if I had a dime for every DM I got from people complaining about whatever and telling me what I should and shouldn't do. And you know what? The best way to solve that problem is to follow and support the people that provide you with either good feelings or entertainment or whatever, and ignore the people that don't. I mean, that's how you do it. That's the only way to do it. Remember that this is a very loose collection of people, not only fans, but of people creating comics. And just because one person or one creator is doing one thing doesn't mean that anybody else is doing that, or this other person is necessarily the same way. So we just kind of live and let live. And so it's on you guys to pick and choose the happy people or the stuff that you want to indulge in. And so there you go. But thank you, Geek, for the 5. Appreciate it. Marcus Killergo, Indiegogo is a mess. Boy, is it ever. And we'll talk about that shortly when I'll give you my Wraith of God update. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Marcus, let's see. Paul Taylor, Canadian, $10. Thank you, Paul. You think you've got it bad. The Leafs haven't won the Stanley Cup since 1967. Wow. When I was still in diapers, I'm hoping they win it before I'm in diapers again. I was just telling my son, I just need Nebraska to be really good for 1 year before either I die or Christ returns, just so I can say, there it is, that one season again. But I look, Nebraska won 3 national championships in the 90s. I was there for it. In fact, the 2 they won in the 70s, I was there. I was a wee lad, but I remember them. So I did get to experience them. So I really shouldn't complain. But you know how it is. The once you get something like that, you just want it to keep going all the time, and it just doesn't always work that way. Sequential Treasures, James says, interested in your take on Alphonse Mucha. Well, I've got a take. Darren Wagner's here. Brad Koski. No, you haven't missed anything. We're still just kind of warming up. I haven't done anything, Brad, except talk to you guys so far. Hong Kong Fooey Sports is irrelevant. It is, but it's just another form of entertainment. And like I said, you can get sucked into it way too heavy. Like me, for example. But at least I've stuck to one team. And I watched Nebraska volleyball too, because they're really good. But I don't watch pro football. I mean, I'm aware of it. I keep up, just for conversation, but I don't watch it. I used to watch basketball quite a bit, NBA. But Portland sucks again, and it's sucked for a while now. And so it's hard to get back into it. But I keep tabs on just stuff just so I'm not a complete, illiterate if the conversation comes up. But yeah, it's so time consuming to watch sports all the time that I'm just too busy, much too busy for all that. Green Laser's here. Let's see. There's Stealth again for $2 saying hello. Thank you, Stealth. Appreciate it. Let's see. Still debating the light by my, it does look like there's a fire burning on there, doesn't it? That's pretty funny. Art Haida. Oh, hi, Aaron. Entertain me while I frantically write a script. Just had my allotted time cut in half. How in the world can you listen to somebody like me ramble and still write? I have to have like complete silence when I'm writing, or my mind is just, I can't stay focused. So my daughter's though is like that. She can like have background distraction noise and seems to do okay with it. I cannot. Let's see here. Spaceman says, Aaron, when is the next Kit Carter story coming out? I love it. I don't know. I haven't planned that far ahead, actually. Oh, what did you say? That X suspended your account. You must have said something. Goody Two Shoes for $5. Thank you, sir. I've started actively collecting your Wonder Woman run. Any good stories from the time? Hale Lopez. Well, it'd be dumb for me to say, or what am I trying to say? If I wouldn't say all of them were good. The best story arc is the very first one, which was, I think, did I start with issue 21 or 22? I can't remember. Something like that. Or is it 23? I can't remember. But there's like, we take all, it's my dog, right on cue. Gail and I, Simone, who wrote it, took all the 1970s sword and sorcery characters. So Beowulf, Claw the Unconquered, which is kind of like their Conan character, and what was that guy's name? The Ditko did not the Seeker. He was looking for his soul. What the heck was his name? Anyway, someone in the chat, Marcus will help me, right? But we took those 3 characters and put her back like in medieval times. And she was like, there was barbarian Wonder Woman, there was Nordic kind of, Beowulf Wonder Woman, and then medieval Wonder Woman for the doggone it, what was that character's name? Somebody help me. So that was like the first one. I think it was 4 issues or something. That was probably the best story arc, at least for me. It was the most fun. Let's see. Well, let's see here. Is anybody going to help me out? Headless Bourgeoisie says, I'm a Washington Generals fan. I don't think we'll ever get a win. Wait a minute, don't you have that quarterback from like Tennessee or LSU or someplace that's really good? The Generals are the Redskins, right? Let's see. There's Nicholas Gear. Stalker, thank you. Henry Jeremek, the Stalker. So it was Beowulf, the Claw, and the Stalker, and teamed up with Wonder Woman in this sort of barbaric, medieval, all over the place kind of thing. And it was really, it was a ton of fun. And I did, of course, whenever you start a new series, you like, I'm going to kick everybody's butt. No one will talk about Jim Lee anymore. They'll be talking about me. I'm going to really show them. So I did my best work on like that opening story arc, which was kind of fun. So that would be my recommendation out of the Wonder Woman stuff I did. Oh my gosh. Kurt Chumslin is my cousin. He says, can you hurry up with the shipping, please? I haven't even got the books back. We'll get to it. They're getting printed this week, or they're going to the printer. How long are they going to sit before they actually get printed is anybody's guess. Marcus Stalker. Got it. See, everybody's complaining about their teams. Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have been to the Super Bowl 4 straight times with Jim Kelly and lost every time. That's kind of a bummer. But at least they got there. There's Phil Diaz. There's who else we got in here? Saturdays are almost impossible for me right now, Marcus, because we go down almost every Saturday to my son and daughter-in-law to play with the grandkids. So it's really challenging, especially you guys are 7:00 Eastern time. And it's 4:00 for me. So that's like right in the middle of the day. So it's very difficult, but we'll see how things play out going forward. Okay, I think we got through everything. Brohawk, blah, blah, blah. That's what you tuned in for, David, is my insights. So don't be complaining when you have to listen to them. Okay. It was Steve Ditko drew it and Wally Wood inked it. It didn't last very long, like 5 or 6 issues. But anyway. All right. So speaking of barbarians, let's take a look at what Frazetta may have to offer us this week. Although this is not shocking, a barbarian picture coming from Frazetta. Let's take a look. Yeah, have you guys seen that published photo of it was in one of Frazetta's books, but it's a picture of him and Clint Eastwood standing by the painting for the Gauntlet movie poster that he did. Pretty good movie. I mean, if you like Clint movies. And he was kind of a loser cop that kind of they were setting him up to, because they were going to kill Sandra Locke. She's a witness or something. And he kind of proves them wrong by getting her to the court as everybody's trying to kill her or kill him too, because they don't want her to testify and because some bigwig is going to go down if they do, kind of thing. And then I don't remember the details exactly, but I do remember it being kind of, I remember her like calling him an idiot, going, don't you understand? You're just, you're a loser. You're not, they want you dead. And he was like, going to prove him wrong. And he did, because he's Clint. Maybe, yeah, Frazetta did a lot of movie posters. Not a lot, but enough. And that was one of them, kind of a cool one there. And so I thought, well, let's take a look at it. So there you go. Clint and Sandra Locke right there. I guess Clint had well, this was back in the 90s. He's probably old now because he's freaking old. He's like in his 90s. But I guess his daughter was pretty wild in the Hollywood scene. And I had people telling me stories about her that somehow knew somebody that knew her. So I don't even know if any of it's true, but it was like, whoa. Anyway, 93. I think he's older than that, but he's still directing. Man. It's just incredible. Some people just got the longevity, man. All right, let's see what's on the old list of things to do. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Wraith of God 3, Fear Hollow. Okay, so where are we at on all that? Everything has been ordered, right? So the shot glasses have been ordered, poker chips have been ordered, t-shirts have been ordered, trading cards are already back. Although I think maybe I didn't get enough because I wasn't expecting the campaign to close as strong as it did. I was hoping, but wasn't sure based on how it had been trending for the last several months. So I think I may have shorted myself on trading cards. So I'm going to have to reorder those. But they turn around pretty quickly, so that's not going to hold anything up. But then it was a matter of scanning all the artwork for the sketchbook or the Wraith of God 3 roughs, right? Which is all the layouts. So I had to scan 48 pages, and then I had to format them, get them sized, and whatever. And then while I was doing that, I had sent the book to my designer who's putting it together. And of course, he finds spelling errors. So then I had to go back in and redo pages, then send it back to him, fixed, and then he put them back in. And I think we're all good there. And so then I sent him the sketchbook, which then he sent me a PDF to check it out. And of course, I found another page with a mistake on it. So I had to redo that and send that to him. And so anyway, everything's done. And it's supposed to go upload the files tomorrow to the printer. Now, and I never know. They always tell me, oh, yeah, we'll have this turned around in X amount of days or weeks. And then it's like add 2 weeks to that or more. And then if they screw something up, then you got to go back in and redo it. And it's just, I hate being an editor, but that's the way it goes. I do want to share some stuff with you. So when I say I send stuff to my designer to put the book together for me, there's a program called InDesign, and which I guess is not that hard to use, but it would take me actually the desire to want to do it. And I'm just happy to pay this guy to do it, right? So I don't have to deal with it. And he's experienced, used to work at Image. So, I mean, he knows how to do this. And so anyway, so this is what the PDF proof, right? Before it goes to the printer. So he wants me to check this out and say, okay, does this look good? So this is cover A, right? So what I've done is I put all this together, right? I put the spine in there because I get the template from the printer, and based on how many pages the book is and what type of paper, the thickness of the paper, then they come back and tell me, okay, your spine needs to be this thick and all that. So I pieced this together using the template that they gave me, and then I send this off to my designer. Then he makes these things, which then are sent to the printer, and they use these to create the files to print from, right? So if you look up here, these lines right here. So this is the trim line, okay? And so, pardon me, this is your full bleed out. Your trim line is right here, the inset ones. That means that's where they're going to cut the book. So you want to make sure there isn't anything in this trim line area here that you're going to potentially lose, right? So these things come here and here. So it's like 1/8 of an inch around. Maybe it's a quarter. It's not a quarter. It's like 1/8 all the way around that you're going to lose. It's going to get cut off when the book is printed, and then they trim it. So you're always looking to make sure, that number 3 isn't too far over to the right. or I know I'm going to lose a little bit of his hat, but there really wasn't anything I could do about it. I'm going to lose just a little, maybe just a, like that pumpkin down here is going to sit right on the trim line, but there really wasn't much I could do about it. After I'd already drawn the art, you know. And then I put together the back cover. All the back covers are the same. You see there's your UPC code, which a lot of guys don't put on their books, but this way at least it's registered. And if Comic Shop wanted to carry this book, they could just, they just scan it. It would ring up at $25. So that's why I do it. Here's what Chris Stevens' cover looks like. Again, here's your color bar to match colors with. I don't really know exactly how they use that. And your grayscale is over here. But so, like most guys, we're really terrible about leaving room for logos. And there was no way in the world that I was covering up the Headless Horseman and this horse that Chris did. So I just made the logo really small over here, moved it, you know, extended this kind of smoldering flame that comes up so it would bleed off. And that's how I set the cover up. And as you can see, this line right here is going to come down right about there. So you've got, you know, you've got plenty of room, probably over 1/4 of an inch before this is, you know, gets trimmed off, which it won't get trimmed off. It's far enough away that I don't have to worry about it. And those are the kind of things you got to look for, you know. Make sure that this, like Empire Comics writing on the spine, isn't so low that it gets trimmed off when this thing gets cut right there. So I like hold up a ruler and just, or a straight edge, just kind of look and make sure everything's going to work. And if I don't like it, then I can move stuff around. You know, so that's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that I'm doing now, which is no fun. But you know, it's the editorial process. So anyway, everything is completed, and even from a technical standpoint right now. So what'll happen is those files get sent to the printer on Monday. They'll generate proofs for me to check. And then if I don't have any problem with those, then they go ahead. But then they will generate, before they go to the actual press, they will generate a hard copy proof. I'll get to approve a digital proof from them, but sometimes things don't show up digitally that will show up in a hard proof. So you have to pay extra, and it will delay printing usually a week. But I demand it now because I've had too many problems in the past. So you look at the hard, they give you they print out a hard copy for you, and you go over everything and make sure that, you know, word balloons or captions aren't transparent and, you know, seeing stuff through them or whatever strange thing might potentially happen, because anything that's weird that can happen while you're printing usually does. So anyway, that's where we're at. And Marcus Killigrew brought up the thing that, Indiegogo is a mess right now. And it is, okay? Like, for example, there used to be a thing on Indiegogo, right? It was, they would say items report. And you could just click on items report and it would just show you how much of everything was ordered, right? So, oh, Wraith of God cover A, this many. Wraith of God cover B. So you'd get your numbers, right? For everything, for your shot glasses, whatever, t-shirts, they're all there. And so you just go, okay, that's how many I need. Well, they just redesigned the whole thing, right? So I can't find my items report. Now, thankfully, I took down my items report before they redid the site. But now, so like Andy Smith finally found it, and he told me, you know, you got to, oh, you go to here, then you click on this, pull down this menu bar, click on that, then come over here and add this into the filter, and then it'll shoot us, priest. Anyway, so it's very convoluted. And the thing is, it doesn't just put all cover A's together, right? And say, okay, you have 900 copies of whatever. It's like every time it's ordered in a subgroup, like if you got 4 cover, you know, the 4 covers plus the roughs, right? That's one perk. So then it'll show up how many cover A's were ordered through that perk. So you have like on this list of things, you have like 12 different cover A's that you have to add up, and you make sure you don't miss one. I went through that list 4 or 5 times for each cover to make sure that I had the numbers right. And every time I did it, the number changed. So I was like, what am I for? So I finally got it so that it was consistent. And I got the numbers right. And anyway, but yeah, and there's just all sorts of like early sign up. Graham couldn't find his early signups. You guys that sign up early and you get special whatever. For me, it was a trading card, but with, Graham, it's, front of the line for shipping or whatever. He can't find the list, so it's just like, if you're running a campaign right in the middle and they redesign the entire website, so nothing is the same, you're like, what? So yeah, a lot of guys are going through that right now, but they say it's better. Well, we'll find out. Okay. So that's pretty much all I got on Wraith of God. So I will be sending out, I will continue to send out updates to you guys that backed so that, you know exactly where we're at. But if you didn't back, you didn't order one, I'm going to have, provided there isn't any damage or anything like that, and I've been pretty fortunate that way, I'm going to have probably 100 extra copies of the book that will be available on my website. If you didn't back the campaign, you'll still have it, there'll still be a few left that you can get your hands on. But the print run on this is much lower than the previous issues. Like we were around 3,500. We're around 2,300 copies of this third issue. So it's going to be a lot rarer than the first 2 issues for sure. Oh, great. Wasn't the post office, didn't we have this problem when Kit Carter came out that the Canadian Postal Service was on strike? And I just had to sit there for like weeks before I could mail out. And in some cases, I mailed out Kit Carter's, and then the Postal Service went on strike like the next day or the 2 days after, and those books just never showed up. And then I had to reship them once the strike got over. It's always something, isn't it? Well, you say they were ordered. Wait a minute, where are we at? They were ordered back to work. The first time they were ordered back to work, but they never got the contract. Yeah, but they still don't have a contract, so they can go and strike at any time again. Oh boy. It's always something, isn't it? That's why a nice fresh Le Croix. This is strawberry peach. Sounds like a pretty girly flavor, but it's actually pretty good. Who would have thought water in cans? We'd be spending money on water in cans. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm at. Well, let's jump right into this then, I think. No snacks today. Sorry about that, folks. But we're going to jump right in and do this. Now, last week I closed out Wraith of God 3, and I had downloaded material on Crash McCreary and Alphonse Mucha. And for some reason, I'd put the Mucha in Who's This Guy? And so I ran that last week, even though I was doing Crash McCreary. Now we actually are doing Mucha. So, all right. So it's interesting. There's certain guys that have had a profound influence on comic book artists, and Mucha for some reason, and Mucha is one of them. I think it was it Adam Hughes was the first one to really start, maybe not, but that's the ones I remember was, well, there's old Alphonse right there painting this massive mural. He kind of looks like Colonel Sanders, doesn't he? Or if he has like a bucket of chicken right over here off camera. But yeah, so like if you remember, Adam Hughes did this Mucha-inspired Ghost cover. The Ghost, the character from Dark Horse Comics. I remember that. And that was mid-90s. And it seemed like a lot of guys were, or a lot of artists, I should say, were sort of kind of discovering Mucha and started really getting into it. So you may be saying, well, okay, well, who is Alphonse Mucha? It's an excellent question. Well, he's that guy right there, but he was born in 1860, July in 1860, and died in July of 1939. Now, isn't that interesting? Same month he was born and he died in. Interesting. So he was 79 years old. That's, it's not super old, but it's not bad, especially considering born in 1860. I wonder what the survival rate back then was. Probably not great. He was a Czechoslovakian painter, illustrator, and graphic artist living in Paris during the Art Nouveau period. And he sort of exemplifies Art Nouveau, right? When you think of Art Nouveau, you pretty much think of Mucha. He was widely known for his distinctly stylized and decorative theatrical posters, stage posters, of course, because there was no movies back then. I mean, there became movies in the 20s, but in 1920s. But before that, it was stage plays and things like that. Particularly those of Sarah Bernhardt, who was a very famous actress of stage back in the day. He produced illustrations, advertisements, decorative panels, as well as designs which became best known images of that period. Now, this is interesting. In the second part of his career at age 57, he returned to his homeland and devoted himself to a series of 20 monumental symbolist canvases known as the Slav Epic, depicting the history of all the Slavic peoples of the world, which he painted between 1912 and 1926. In 1928, on the 10th anniversary of the independence of Czechoslovakia, he presented the series to the Czech nation. He considered it his most important work, and that's what we see in this picture. That's what he's working on here. But let's go back to the stuff that would probably those of us who are familiar with him are most familiar with. When you see images like this, that's where you go, oh, yeah, that's that Mucha dude. So wonderfully combined figure, usually a female figure, not always, but usually. And the very stylized, designy hair, right? And then these just elaborate graphic designs. They usually used as background in these, the flowers and things like that. And then the flowing tapestry of her gown, or always helped create the design. So it was like the design was as important as the actual illustrative qualities, or the illustration, which would be the female figure here. I thought this was a very strong piece that he did. That's why I included it here. Now this, I can't tell. Well, I'll show you. Oh yeah. Okay, here we go. Now check this out. This looks like a cigarette ad of some sort. If you see right here, she's got the cigarette in her hand, and I believe this is the smoke swirling about her head. And look at that hair, that stylized graphic depiction of hair. And then look at all this design work. And you look at this and you just go, yeah, well, I just, I create that in Photoshop. No, the guy did this by hand. All of this is by hand, because obviously this predates computers by, I don't know, 100 years. It's just crazy cool design stuff. And this, of course, Art Nouveau, meaning, of course, new art, but it's this was a style that I would, I can't say for certain if he created it, but he certainly is the most well-known person who did it. his stuff sticks with us. And I wanted to show a variety of stuff here, at least. So this is an ad. So he would do like, posters for stage plays. He would do art prints or whatever, and he would do a lot of advertising. And so chocolat idéal. So hot chocolate, right? 90 cents for a box. I wonder how much you got in there for that. Because 90 cents back in 1880 or 1890 probably was a lot of money. So I would think that you probably got a decent amount in there. But it's funny, you can look at some of these pieces and you can see how Mucha influenced guys like Kaluta, especially. That I see a lot of Mucha influence in Kaluta's work. And I'm sure other guys as well. Who am I thinking of? I think got it. Who's the guy that did Spider-Man Spirits of the Earth? Somebody help me. No, I know Terry has some Mucha influence, obviously, as well. Terry Dodson. But I'm thinking of way before Terry, way before Charles Vest. Thank you. Stephen Ng comes in, and yes. So you see some of that, and those are probably the two most prominent guys. But Kaluta, if you look at his work and how he does design elements behind his, a lot of the times you can see that there's clearly he had some Mucha inspiration in his work. Look at this piece right here. I love this one. I just love the material, the lettering. It's just so intricate and elaborate. Like this, the flowers in her hair. Now you guys will know that the guys that ordered the Wraith of God, Wraith Nouveau print that was offered on my campaign, that it was obviously inspired by Mucha. It was that sort of a design, but I don't have the patience to go in and do what this guy did, and the amount of detail and intricacies to the designs. Mine were more of a basic approach. I didn't add so much of this other stuff that he does. So mine weren't nearly, I mean, the design was very similar to this type of thing, but it was much simpler. In fact, I probably should bring it up just so we can compare what I'm talking about here. There it is. Okay. So based on what we've just seen, this is what I came up with. And this is sort of a lazy man's Mucha right here. Okay. So I did the flowers and things like that, but these designs are nowhere, the background part, I mean, is nowhere near as intricate as what Mucha did. But I was basically taking elements and sort of simplifying a little bit because I was like, I'm not going to kill myself doing this. You got to have a certain mentality, right? You have to have a certain amount of patience while you work to really get as crazy as Mucha did. Mine is a more a bolder approach, I think, maybe a better way to put it. Someone says, where did I get this shirt? Off Amazon, I'm pretty sure is where I got this Tales to Astonish shirt. So, like, I just searched like Marvel t-shirts or, Marvel Comics t-shirts, things like that. And they got a whole bunch of stuff like this. But anyways, you can see that, this area right up in here got a little intricate, but I could have filled this in with a bunch of different things, but it just seemed like too much work. Hey, at least I admit it, right? But yeah, but it's for design elements, man, they're very, very cool. And I can absolutely understand why, again, if you have the right mindset, this to do this stuff, it's very appealing. This is kind of cool. This is a Sarah Bernhardt poster, right? Theatre de la Renaissance, Midi. This background isn't anywhere near as complicated as some of the ones he did. The interesting thing, he had how he got hooked up with Sarah Bernhardt was kind of interesting because I'm looking for, here we go. At the end of 1894, Mucha's career took a dramatic and unexpected turn when he began to work for the French stage actress Sarah Bernhardt. As Mucha later described it, on 26th of December, Bernhardt made a telephone call to Maurice de Brunhoff, the manager of the publishing film Le Mercier, which printed her theatrical posters, ordering a new poster for the continuation of the play Gemanda. The play by Victorien Sardou had already opened with great success on October 31st, 1894 at the Théâtre de la Renaissance. Bernhardt decided to have a poster made to advertise the prolongation of the theatrical run after the Christmas break, insisting it be ready by January 1st, 1895. Because of the holidays, none of the regular Le Mercier artists were available. So when Bernhardt called, Mucha happened to be at the publishing house correcting proofs. He already had experience painting Bernhardt. He had made a series of illustrations of her performing in Cleopatra in 1890. So when Gismonda or whatever opened in 1884, Mucha had been commissioned by the magazine Le Galois, I don't even know, to make a series of illustrations of her for the Christmas supplement, which was published in Christmas of 1894. So Brunhoff asked Mucha to quickly design the new poster for Bernhardt. The poster was more than life-size, a little more than 2 meters high, with Bernhardt in a costume of a Byzantine noblewoman dressed in an orchid headdress and a floral stole, holding a palm branch. That's not the one you're looking at right now. So anyway, the poster appeared in the streets of Paris and caused an immediate sensation. Bernhardt was pleased by the reaction, so she ordered 4,000 copies of the poster. Wow, that's a lot. And gave Mucha a 6-year contract to produce more with his posters all over the city. So with his posters all over the city, Mucha found himself quite suddenly famous. So basically, he happened to be in the office, probably the ad agency or whatever they might have been called at that point in time, when Sarah Bernhardt requested this poster. They needed it turned around quick. Mucha was available. He did it. They put it out. Everybody loved it. Superstar. So, being in the right place at the right time is always seems to be like a fundamental necessity of success. Look at this one. Now this I love this one because it's a little bit different. The angle of the woman here is different than what we normally see. Or at least from what I've normally seen of him. But look at again how detailed all this stuff is up here. And it frustrates me because I love it, but I don't have the, if someone put a gun to my head and said, do it, I could do it, but that'd be about the only way, because I just don't have, I get so anxious to get done with stuff and keep moving forward that it's like spending the amount of time it would take to do this would probably drive me crazy. But I love, how she's sort of looking away from us, leaning into her hand here. And it's just a wonderful piece, I think. And how she's behind a lot of the elements, right? So you got this sort of plant thing growing out here in front of her. You've got actually the uh, this framing device here, this design element is actually in front of her as well. Like you're looking through a stained glass window at somebody outside or something. It's one of my favorite pieces that I found of his. What else we got here? This one is, I love the color, very autumn, but you've got that pink dress with, the reds in here. It's just a really strong piece, very monochromatic. Her flesh tones are very in line with the leaves and the dress and everything. So it feels very monochromatic, but because it's red, it really jumps. And he was doing all that lettering and stuff too. I used to suck so bad at lettering, and I've really pushed myself over the years, at least for the sound effects lettering where I use it, to get better at it. Because it's easy to go into Photoshop or whatever and just drop stuff in like that. But I don't know if you can do it yourself. I don't know. I'm old fashioned that way. I just think it's kind of cool. I just think, I don't know what this is. I guess it's a champagne, White Star champagne. It looks like it's an advertisement, which is really bizarre because there's you'd think she'd be holding a glass or a bottle of champagne or something, but she's not. It's just like this beautiful floral girl. And, oh yeah, we're selling champagne, by the way. But I guess that's half the battle, right? Get people's attention. And then they read, oh yeah, well, this guy's selling champagne. Now this is just exactly what I was talking about. I guess I got ahead of myself. So here he is selling wine or champagne, and she does have the bottle and a little glass there. A coy little look over her shoulder. Now this is interesting because it doesn't have a lot of the design elements in it that the other ones do. This is more of a straight up illustration. It's very stylized, right? It's very clearly Mucha, but you don't have any of that, those design elements. You just have an illustration, of her and all these florals and stuff like that. As far as I can tell, this is all watercolor. But yeah, so that's an ad for. So I mean, it's just interesting how you got fine art snobs who will say that commercial art is beneath us and all this kind of stuff. But we now look at this was commercial art at the time, but is now considered fine art. So I would much rather have a really nice piece of commercial art than a piece of crappy fine art that I can't tell what it is. Now he did several versions of this, but they're just wonderful. These are the 4 seasons, right? Oh, you know who else I was going to mention? Barry Smith. Barry Windsor Smith had obviously some Mucha influence in his work as well. And he did something very similar to this. Barry Smith did the 4 seasons, or was it he had that Islands of Something portfolio that had, but I'm sure, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, it may have been called something else, but I could have swore that he did a portfolio or something Barry Smith did that was like the 4 seasons. And they were more like Conan or, barbarian characters, but it was this kind of vibe. These were all just wonderful. This is probably right here is probably the most famous one. But it's interesting. What's interesting about these is it's hard to tell them apart because he doesn't feel like he really jumped into making them really different in terms of, I mean, if this is spring right here, and this is summer, so you have the blue sky, so that you get the summer here, and this is okay. The fall, it's not, the color scheme isn't all that different than this one. I mean, this does have those light greens in it where this doesn't, but I don't know if I would have seen more elements in here perhaps to separate that a little bit more. And this, of course, if this didn't have the snow on this, it wouldn't really feel like winter. I think like he could have really played up that, look at me critiquing Mucha. Each one of these is just wonderful, but I'm just curious why he didn't make more drastic visual differences between the seasons. But you know who else? Jeff Jones. Jeff Jones also, you could see, probably had some Mucha influence in his work. Sequential artist says, artist Michael Zulli also has a Mucha influence. Yeah, it's funny. It's probably more common to see it now than it was, 50 years ago. Because a lot of us, I mean, people that knew, but, I had no idea who Mucha was 50 years ago when I was a kid, obviously, and I saw Barry Smith's work or Kaluta's work or something like that. But now, in retrospect, knowing who Mucha is and then looking at the work they did, you can see that, that was at least part of the influences on them in their work. So who would have thought that a guy doing Sarah Bernhardt theater posters and wine and champagne advertisements and hot chocolate advertisements in the 1890s would influence comic book art, 70 years later? Pretty crazy, but it is true. There you go. All right. So I think I mentioned, maybe I haven't mentioned on this show. I think I have, but I did mention it to somebody. In other words, whoever would listen. So my daughter comes to me this month in October and says, hey, every October, I like to do this. We like to watch a movie every night. It's it's supposed to be a Halloween themed movie. Now, of course, she doesn't like monster movies or anything like that. So we're watching a lot of Tim Burton and, The Corpse Bride and Hotel Transylvania, stuff like that. I, however, get to pick too. So she'll pick like Hotel Transylvania, then I'll pick like Bride of Frankenstein, right? And, so it's quite a variety. So there's a movie that I've known about since I was a kid that I had never seen. And I wanted to see it. And we were able to, actually, I had to pay $3.99 to watch it through Prime Video. I had to buy it. I'm sorry, rent it. But those of you who are horror movie aficionados may be aware of this. So it was Boris Karloff in The Mask of Fu Manchu, right? So he's made up to look Asian. And this was 1932, so it was a year after Frankenstein, but when was The Mummy? Was The Mummy 32? 33? I know Bride Frankenstein was 34. But this was 1932. Was The Mummy 1931? It might have been. Did you do Frankenstein and The Mummy in the same year? Well, anyway, so I had for years, if you read like Famous Monsters of Filmland or any sort of horror movie magazine, or you would get those. I've got a ton of books on, Universal Monsters and monster movies and things like that. And I've always seen this picture of Karloff as Fu Manchu, and I'd always wanted to see the movie because I'm a big Karloff fan. And this is probably the picture we're most familiar with. It's like I always wanted to see this because I always liked the concept Fu Manchu, the super villain, always trying to conquer the world. Kind of he was a pulp hero or a villain, a pulp character, I guess I should say. And so I wanted to see this movie, and so we watched it. And of course, my daughter thought it was boring, gave it 1.5 stars on her rating thing, and it wasn't great. Okay, but it wasn't bad. It had really fantastic sets. You know, some really nice noir type lighting. Um, very German impressionistic, like a lot of that stuff that was going on in the early 30s. We started in the silent movies like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Nosferatu, of course. And but it has the shortcomings of most early 30s movies, is that they're like just 3 years removed from silent movies, right? So they really haven't figured out how to use music effectively. And the acting was not, Karloff was good. And also the other thing that's interesting about this movie is Myrna Loy was in it. And as a young Myrna Loy, like this must have been one of her earliest roles, but she was fine in it. Here we go. So there's Karloff as Fu Manchu. And then this dude, just the handsome hero guy, he wasn't good. Myrna Loy, very young Myrna Loy. She later was in the Thin Man series, and of course other films of that era. She became a pretty hefty star, and so they were fine. Myrna Loy was fine. Boris Karloff was good, as he always is. These supporting actors were just hammy stage actors, and that's the thing I was getting to, was that, and that in the early 30s, when they were just moved out of silent films, you had this, because they were used to doing these super dramatic performances in silent films, and then when sound, it took them a while to kind of reel that in. I mean, the really good actors kind of got it, I think, but some of the, you know, supporting people like this dude were just a little larger than life, if you know what I mean. But it did, and the plotting was a bit slow at points, which you see like even in Frankenstein, 1931, like 2 years removed from silent films. They had this sort of stage play sort of presence where there wasn't real crisp editing. They weren't moving the thing along as quickly as they could have. So parts of this movie dragged, but there were some really nice, some incredible set pieces, and some scenes visually were really nice. And there was some, you know, a few edge of your seat kind of moments. And this was a pre-code film, what they call, like before they had put in the, you know, what you could put in a movie and what you couldn't. So there was a lot of like intimate touching that was really uncomfortable. You know, and a lot of innuendo and stuff that they would, of course, as films progressed in the late 30s and into the 40s, you know, the censors got control of things, and it was very, you know, wholesome for the most part. But this was, I don't want to say lurid, but there was some insinuation in it that was very interesting. Now, this blonde girl, she's the girlfriend of the that hunky guy that was the hero. She's awful. She was like dialed up to 11 the whole time, and talking fast, yelling, overacting. And it was just like, honey, reel it in. Just reel it in a little bit. But again, when you go into movies this age or this era of movies, you sort of expect that from the supporting cast. The stars, like I said, were generally better at it than some of these other wannabes were. But yeah, it's like her blouse is like, you can see she doesn't have a bra or anything. It's like pretty much see-through. And they just were like, you know, a little bit racy. Now, of course, I would be, so I gave it 2.5 stars, right? So I gave it just sort of an average rating. It was okay, but it wasn't as, you know, as awesome as I was hoping it would be. But at least I got to see it. I got to see Karloff as Fu Manchu. And I'm a big Fu Manchu fan. And I think it's important to note that there's this 1951 comic published by Avon called The Mask of Fu Manchu, which that's Wally Wood on the cover. And he did the entire insides of this book. And I do have a copy of this, not slabbed, but it's pretty high grade. It's like a very fine plus, but it's also been restored. There's a color touch on Fu Manchu's nose, and the book has been pressed, which doesn't count as restoration anyway. So I wanted this book for years, and I probably got this, like, I told you the story where I got it in the 90s on a phone auction. Oh, it's the weirdest thing, right? It was advertised in the Buyer's Guide to Comics Fandom. It was a weekly newspaper about comic books. And this guy was like, okay, I've got he listed all the books he was auctioning off, what condition they were in, and when the auction started and when it ended. It was like a full page ad. So then you would call the phone number, call the dude up and go, okay, I'm bidding $300 on Fu Manchu or whatever, right? I think I ended up paying $3.25 for it in the 90s, which was a lot of money. But I really wanted this book because I just don't see it very often. And this was a really nice book. Like I said, it had a color touch on it, which I wouldn't do that now. I wouldn't buy it now. But back then I was like, I just wanted it. So anyway, I love the cover. And like I said, Wood did the entire insides on this. And this is published by Avon in 1951. And, but so this is basically, was based on the story by Sax Rohmer, who was the one who created Fu Manchu. I don't know if that's a real guy or a pen name someone used during the pulp years. But yeah, he was like everybody's favorite villain for the longest time. I don't know. Marcus used to, I believe that. But there was no way to do an online auction. You called in, right? And so I called in and bid. I don't know what I bid. I think I bid $300. He said, okay, it's yours. And this was 2 minutes before the auction was over. Well, okay, so I'm like, all right, I got it for 300 or 290, something like that. It was close to 300. And then he calls me back. Like at 9:00, let's say the auction was over at 5 o'clock my time. I have no idea when it was over, but we'll just say, so it was like at 5:01. He calls me back and goes, well, somebody just called in and outbid you. And I'm like, what? I go, you told me I had it. And he goes, well, they called in before 5 o'clock. So I don't know if that's true or not. And said, so he basically could have been lying to me, right? There was no way to check. And he said he just bid 300 or 315 or something. I can't remember what the increments were, but I ended up having to pay $3.25 for it, I think. And I was pissed off, but I did it because I wanted the book. And so then he sold it to me for $3.25. So I might have got totally jobbed, but Paul Taylor with the facts here says Sax Rohmer, born in 1883 in Birmingham, Warwickshire, England, and died in 1959. So he's in his 70s. Was an internationally popular British writer who created the sinister Chinese criminal genius Fu Manchu. My daughter also liked to point out the movie was incredibly racist, as they were calling everybody white skins and yellow skins. And we're going to wipe out you white devils. It was pretty funny, actually. So a different time, folks. A different time indeed. All right, where are we at here? Oh, okay. So I'm also going to go tonight and watch Strangers on a Train, which is a Hitchcock film with Farley Granger. And is it Robert? What's that dude's name? The other guy in it. Basically, I think they meet on a train. The two strangers meet on a train. They agree to kill each other's wives or something like that, even though they're both gay. So I've seen parts of it. I've never seen the whole thing. So I think I'm going to go watch that tonight after the show, of course. So I did, though, this weekend, Josh and I, my son, went to, there's a one-day toy show in Vancouver, Washington. We went to look through that, which is always good fun. especially when you find like old stuff that you had when you were a kid and you're like, oh my gosh, I remember that. Somebody had like original, I guess they're hard plastic, or maybe they might have been squishy plastic, but they were, one-piece plastic figurines about that high of Frankenberry, Count Chocula, Boo Berry, and I don't remember what the other was. The werewolf, the other one. And it was a set of 4 of these, and it was $160 for all 4 of them. I was like, I'm not paying that, but they were cool. Remember the good old days for me. So anyway, and then after the toy show, we went over to what they call the Frankenstein comic book swap meet, which happens twice a year in Portland. And so we went in there, and yeah, I did get something. Nothing too spectacular because I don't really have any money right now. I'm still reeling, if you guys remember, from that Frazetta Famous Funnies Buck Rogers comic with Buck Rogers fighting that octopus underwater. Yeah, I'm still tapped out from that. But this guy did have Marvel Essentials for $5 a piece. So I picked up Nova. And if you're interested, what are Essentials? These are like every issue of Nova in black, glorious black and white. So you can read the stories and you can actually see the artwork better. This is, look at that Buscema guy right there. So Buscema did not all the issues, but he did several of the issues. And then I think, what's his face took over. Doggone it. Well, looks like Sal did some issues here. Unless I'm mistaken. No, that's definitely Sal. So John started, Sal took over, and then you've got Carmen Infantino did some here near the end. Tom Palmer inking. Tom Palmer inked most of these. I think the first 4 issues here were Senate, maybe? Yeah, Buscema and Senate. I always liked Senate over Buscema. I don't think Buscema liked him because he was too clean, but I thought for his superhero work, it was a good match. So whenever Buscema was drawing superheroes like Fantastic Four or the Avengers or whatever, I liked Senate over him. Now when he's doing Barbarian stuff, yeah, I know that would not be my first pick. So yeah, so John, look at that. Nice guy's robbing a bank. Although I don't know why this guy's in a hole on the floor or he's on his knees. Always cracks me up when they did that. I mean, I know they knew it was wrong, but it was just like it fit everybody in. But I like this book, but it's basically a Spider-Man ripoff. But there was also because the kid Ronnie Raymond, I think his name was, he was like a kid in high school, got these superpowers. But they came up with all these like new villains, like Diamond Head, which I thought was cool, like Diamond Head, and the Sphinx. He was like this pharaoh or whatever, super pharaoh. There's an issue where he fights Thor. It's like Sal Buscema took over here, and then was inked by Palmer. Yeah, so I think John only did like. Let me see here. Is that still John? I don't think that's John. Issue 4 was Sal Buscema. So, in fact, he looks like he was issue 3 too. Yeah, Sal, that's issue 3 with Diamond Head. That Sal Buscema took over. So I think John just did the first 2 issues. So, but anyway, I thought, it's easier to read your comics like this when it's, you don't have to take them out of the bag and board, especially when they're all in near mint condition. You don't want to ruin them. Then I got this, also $5, right? So this is Daredevil 1 through 25, which I used to have like Daredevil 4, 7, and then like 8 and up. But I traded all those away for old Spider-Man books. But so yes, this is like the whole run up to It's even got some good Wally Wood stuff in here. There's Wally right there. So anyway, for $5, it's like, heck yeah. Sit there and read all this stuff. And of course, later on, it looks like Romita did a couple issues here. Yeah, the first appearance of the Gladiator, that's Romita did that. There shall come a gladiator. So as Romita did this issue. I don't think he did many of them. Because they moved him. He took over, let's see here. I may stand corrected here. That's Wood. Hang on a second here. I think Romita took over with issue, yeah, right here with Kazar. Issue 12 was Romita took over. And of course, he drew Spider-Man crossed over in issue 16, and then they moved him over to Spider-Man, which I guess he didn't want to draw at first, which is kind of funny since he's now sort of a legendary Spider-Man artist. But yeah, so he was grooving on Daredevil till he's still there on issue 20. No, he's not. So after Romita, it looked like 19 was his last issue. Then he jumped over to Spider-Man. Then he got Gene Colan coming in here. And of course, Gene drew him forever. So anyway, if you can get these at shows, like for $5, great value. Awesome. So anyway, that's all I got. That's all I got. Paul Taylor says, slab those thick books, Aaron. Those are readers. See, I don't, everything. Now, I will admit, even when I buy books, I take really good care of them because I'm just that way. And if they get, okay. So I have this Frazetta book, and thankfully it's not super expensive, but it was a paperback. It fell off my bookshelf and bent the corner. So there's a big old crease in the corner. It drove me freaking nuts. So I had to go buy another one. So now I have both of them. It just drove me nuts. I just like taking care of my stuff. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? All right. Let's take a look at Dave Stevens. This episode's all about art. Usually they are, but this may be even more so than normal. So we're well into the 80s now, and I tried to do these sort of by decade, these artists by decades, right? So we've already done Byrne, but Byrne crossed over into the 70s. Of course, Gil Kane was very much a 70s artist, even though he was an 80s artist too, but he started in the 70s. And, you know, we've done Simonson, started a little bit in the 70s as well. And so now I think we're into artists that are specifically in the 80s, you know, or at least majority of their careers in the 80s. And so I thought, there's no better place to start than with Dave Stevens. And of course, Dave did a lot more covers than I actually give him credit for, or I had given him credit for. This one, they use this on the Rocketeer Deluxe Complete Adventures. So again, this is where we just took a look at Alphonse Mucha doing Art Nouveau. This is, of course, Art Deco, which was probably started in the 20s into the 30s. And so that's what he's sort of capturing here. This was originally the cover for the first Dark Horse issue of the Rocketeer. And then they used it on the hardcover collection. But same cover, so I can use it. Painted by Dave, drawn by Dave, and painted by Dave. Great, strong, centralized image. I like the lightning bolts, that Art Deco thing. And very simple, well-drawn, effective cover. And of course, when you're talking about Dave Stevens, you're always talking about well-drawn. That's more the appeal, I think, to his covers than necessarily design elements, although I think his design elements are fine as well. Like you look at this one, this is the cover to The Rocketeer, the official movie adaptation. This isn't necessarily dynamic, right? So like if David Williams drew this, it would be way more dynamic than this, right? But it is kind of an iconic hold the flag sort of, heroic pose, presentational, but it's again, it's so well drawn. You're kind of like, I don't care. It's just well drawn. And very cool. Very cool, very iconic. And that's, those are the other elements. If you're not going to bring necessarily a lot of dynamics to the table, then it better be like really well drawn and at least the layout, the design is good. And you get that from Dave pretty regularly. It's one of my faves. I just love that. I think the face of Marilyn Monroe is pretty amazing. Crossfire character, whatever. But the other thing interesting about this, and this is something that Frazetta did a lot, and Dave Stevens obviously was influenced by Frazetta, but look how big Marilyn Monroe is, her head is, compared to how small Crossfire's head is. You'd think it'd be, a little bit more imposing, but it's so well drawn individually. The characters and everything are, and the inking is so wonderful that you just kind of like. I always like, people complain sometimes that, oh yeah, look at Frazetta's, the heads are too big on the bodies or whatever. I'm just like, and I was just kind of, for a while there, that was his thing. Because if you look at people, you look at a photograph of a person, especially someone that's like shorter, like 5'6" or whatever, they have gigantic heads. And a lot of people do. And so we don't really think of that because the way we draw superheroes is this kind of everything's 8 heads tall. But people generally have pretty big noggins compared to the rest of their body. So it's not unusual to do that. And so I never really complained about Frazetta doing that. Or Dave Stevens did it a few times here and there, and we'll actually see a few. So actually what they're doing is closer to reality than what we're drawing as comic books. I always thought this one was pretty cool. This was much later, and this was during what was it? It's 2002. So this was not probably, I don't know if he had diagnosed with cancer at this point or not. Probably not, but it was probably one of the last covers he did. And I think Catwoman's face is so good. And even the Joker's face, it's not as crazy as I'd like to see the Joker, but it's just well drawn. It's just a great face. And then this sort of idea of Batman, he drew him like the Batman from the 1940s serialized movies. I just thought this was really fun. Eric Boyd says, I'm very short, but my head ain't that big. I'll bet it is. I bet it's bigger than you're giving us credit for. Marcus Killigrew. My dad and brother have huge heads. There you go. Now, this is a classic if I ever did see one. Now, I remember when this came out, and this would have been, I was in film school. There was a comic shop. My girlfriend lived down in Redondo Beach, and I would drive down to see her. And then I, of course, had to stop at the comic shop that was in that area. And they made this into a poster, if you remember. This is what I'm talking about. Look how big her head is compared to how short she is. But that's more realistic than you would think. And anyway, so this poster was up in the shop, and I remember, I guess this Christian lady came in, and she was just like, "You're all going to hell for pointing at this poster." And then being a Christian myself, I felt guilty for a minute, but then I was like, "Oh, it's just drawn too well. I'm getting it anyway." Oh, exceptional art sort of like makes you make choices that maybe you wouldn't normally. I don't know. Bad Adam 12 for $10 says, I have 3 Dave Stevens prints at Planet Comics, Vampirella, and Betty Page in a bikini, of course. I met him at Chiller Theater in 97 when I bought the prints. Got the Rocketeer t-shirt as well. Very cool. Dave was a very nice guy. He got a little mad at me once when I asked him when we'd be seeing more Rocketeer. But you know me, I rub people the wrong way all the time. And Dave was no exception. But he was very nice to me. We used to sit next to each other at San Diego. We had booths next to each other for several years. And then he just stopped coming. And I remember asking Bill Stout what was up. And Stout was covering for him because Dave didn't want anybody to know that he had cancer. So he would say, well, Dave, and kind of dismissed it or whatever. And so I was like, oh yeah, I guess. And, but yeah, I sat next to him. And in fact, I bought, there's a great Rocketeer print with a big headshot of Lothar on it. And I bought one from him when I was sitting next to him, and he signed it, to me. And, it was nice. So he was always a good dude to me. I know David Williams knew him pretty well. In fact, David will tell you that Dave Stevens got him his first job at DC. So it's pretty cool. He, of course, was the Cheesecake King. It's funny how, because of probably, Dave Stevens and Adam Hughes, first Stevens, then later Adam, a lot of people kind of discovered or rediscovered Gil Elvgren, who's the pinup artist, 40s and 50s. And he's just like, there's like all the pinup artists, and then there's Elvgren's up here. Except for, I'll say this, Hayden Sundblom, who I've featured on this show before, Elvgren was in Sundblom's studio, and he paints a lot like Sundblom. And Sundblom, best known for his Coca-Cola Santa Claus stuff, he did really nice pinup work. So, and Elvgren was sort of next level Sundblom, but they were close. But through these guys' work like this, a lot of pinup artists like that sort of became, just like Dave sort of reintroduced the world to Betty Page. He also reintroduced us to, pinup artists of the past, which became more of a thing in comics than it was prior to that, I think. But anyway, this is a pretty good piece. I love, obviously the girl's great, but I love that parrot back there. It's awesome. And you got this silhouette up here kind of framing her. Then you got this really sort of colorful branch that Sheena is sitting on. And the other interesting thing about Dave was he never did really huge busted women. Like that seems to be the norm. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself, but seems to be the norm in comic books now is, but he didn't do that. It's very interesting. But just very elegant, beautiful stuff. And of course, Dave loved women, and you can tell in his drawings. A lot of his covers, from a collector standpoint, have really increased in value all of a sudden over the last probably 2 years. And I have this one, mainly because it's a Johnny Quest cover, but it just happens to have Jade on it. And I know it's one of the more popular ones. So I grabbed it when it was cheap. And so I have this. I also have another Johnny Quest cover that just has Race Bannon on it that I really like. It has Race Bannon and two kids. But yeah, all of Dave's stuff, because there's just not a ton of it out there, right? And so, I think fine. I mean, people always like this stuff, but it hasn't been reflected in the collector's market for some reason, but it's starting to now. This is back in '86. That is it Comico or Kamiko was doing Johnny Quest, and Dave was doing some covers and stuff for them. Now this is another example of a girl with a really big head and a small body. This girl right here, ginormous head. This one's more, you can tell her body is much taller, longer than this one, this girl. But look at those Frazetta thighs and calves and the tiny little feet. But I remember seeing this on in my comic shop, and I was down in LA at the time, and this is when I was thinking that maybe going to film school wasn't the smartest idea I'd ever had, and I was like, maybe I should think about trying to get back or pursuing comics. I was never in comics at this point, but pursuing comics. So I picked up this issue of Planet Comics, which was a small publisher, Blackthorn Publishing. And I looked on the inside, and this was all reprints, but they had other comics that were just really crappy. And I thought, well, I could probably get work from these guys. And I did. So my first work was through Blackthorn Comics, but it was because I picked up this and another book from them that I was like, oh, I can work for these guys. I got made a little bit of money. I mean, very little. And then they didn't pay me because they ran out of money and went bankrupt. But so I got paid for Solomon Kane 3D, and I never got paid for my Rambo comics that I did. Yeah, these are, like high grade copies of these, like 9.6s and 9.8s are several $100s now. I think partially because the printing on these was so crappy that it's probably pretty hard to find a decent copy of it, but also, classic Dave Stevens covers. This one was one of my faves. I love this one. This, of course, Elvira. What issue was that? Number 11 of Elvira's House of Mystery. I never bought an issue of this because I thought it was dumb. I mean, I loved House of Mystery, but when it became Elvira's House of Mystery, I was like, but then the Dave Stevens cover came out, and I was like, yeah, I'm getting this. So, interesting thing here, if you didn't know, you see the handle to the broom. You notice how she's side saddling it? Well, originally it was drawn like, so she was sitting on it like a horse, like it was right between her legs, right, where she's straddling it. And they were like, no, we can't do that. So they had him extend this little leg thigh down here and cover up the broom handle so that she's now side saddle sitting it rather than straddling it. So you can read into that whatever you like, but a fantastic cover. Of course, this is so the Rocketeers started off with Pacific Comics as a backup feature in Star Slayer, which was Mike Grell's book. And I don't know if he ever got a regular Rocketeer book published through Pacific, because I think there was like the two backup stories. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I have to go back and check. But the two backup stories. And then I think they came out with this. Pacific did. It was this. Was this the cover? This is the collected cover later, I think. Oh, actually, you know what? There was a Pacific comic that had three. He had 3 panels on it of Dave Stevens' work. It was a Rocketeer issue. It was called the Rocketeer Special or something, special edition, and it had the first 2 chapters. I'm sorry, it continued the story, but it was like a 30-page book or comic or something. And so then they did this collection, which had the first 2 backup stories, and then it had the Rocketeer Special in it. And I think there was some new material in this as well. But this was a soft cover, but it was a square bound. And then they jumped over after Pacific. He then jumped over to Kamiko with it for a while. And then, of course, eventually at Dark Horse is where it ended up finally. I know IDW have done some stuff posthumously, but he wasn't doing anything for IDW, I don't think, while he was still alive. But I love this cover. It's all painted, you know. Probably took him a couple months to do it, but watercolor, just beautiful. Beautiful work. And of course, Dave was his hero. You know, he was the Rocketeer in there. It's really funny. I don't think I've ever self-inserted into a book I wrote or drew. I mean, some of obviously my Christian beliefs, whatever, have made their way into Wraith of God. But as far as trying to make a character look like me, now I wasn't the handsome devil that Dave Stevens was, but and Frazetta used to do this too. Like he would put himself in like his romance comics and things like that. I've never done that. I never had the desire to do it. It's interesting. But I think Dave probably worked from photo reference too. So he photo referenced Betty Page because he wanted it to look like Betty. And then of course, his partner here was, what's his face that designed Johnny Quest. Doggone it. You guys know who I'm talking about. Anyway, Doug Wildey. And so I'm sure he photo referenced these guys. So he figured, well, okay, well, I'll be the Rocketeer. I'm sure, I don't know what his thought process was, but I'm sure that had something to do with it. Remember he did a couple covers for Alien Worlds. That was Pacific Comics as well. It seems to me he did a story, an interior story in one. I've got both these. I guess I should go look. I could answer my own question, but I think he did. The other one is the Bubble Helmet Space Girl cover, but I like this one better. But he did a story on the interiors of one of these, maybe both of them. What says right there in this issue, Aurora by Dave Stevens. So I don't know if he was in this other issue or not. But he did the covers anyway. And that's all we're looking at today anyways, the covers. But I like that little, God, there's like a gnat flying around my head. Creative Face says, Garbage Man is your insert character, hair and then no hair. Yep, that's for sure. Okay, and the last one we're going to take a look at today is one of my faves as well. I love the Johnny Quest covers, but I also loved this one. Mr. Monster for Eclipse. No, wait a minute. Okay, I'm getting confused. So he did do Rocketeer for Eclipse too, didn't he? Maybe that was that collected one was Eclipse, not Pacific. He did 3 issues with Pacific, or 3, whatever. He had the 2 backup stories, and then the 1 issue. And then he jumped over to Eclipse, and I think that's when he did that collection. But I used to read Mr. Monster all the time. I used to find that pretty amusing. And it became hot for a while because Eclipse Comics had their inventory stored in a basement that got flooded out. So like all the inventory on Mr. Monster, the first issue, was lost. So it was kind of a scarce book. And it kind of got, when it was popular too for a while there. And so it became kind of a hot book for a while, but now I don't think anybody cares. But it was a good series. I enjoyed it. There you go. Troy says, I just found an Alien Worlds Dave Stevens cover at my local shop. Yes. Yeah, the stuff is only worth a lot of money if it's like super high grade, like 9.6 and 9.8 are getting several $100s. Like it's just a regular old copies, you can still get them dirt cheap. Yeah, Randy Howell is, but anyway, that's our Dave. Those are my favorite Dave Stevens covers. And there's many good ones. They're all good. Are you kidding me? They're all good. Yeah, I don't really have any paid advertisements for today's show. Well, I guess I have this. Like I said, Wraith of God is closed, but you know what? You can still go to aaronlopresti.com where kids are king. It's true. You can go to the store. You can go to What's New with Empire Comics. You can go look at the portfolio section if you just want to look at artwork. And then maybe someday I'll actually put something on my blog for you to read. But, I like to push the store feature because that's where you buy stuff. We still have Kit Carter paperbacks. We still have a few Kit Carter hardcovers. Garbage Man, running out of those pretty quickly. Save from the Trash. I have a box of those left. Still have copies of Wraith of God 1 second printing, as well as the Tales of Suspense cover, about a half a box of those. Almost out of Bisley. But if you go up here to the store thing, you can go to all products, right? Which is kind of a mishmash. So it's really not the best way to look at stuff. But you can go to prints, and they'll show you all the prints that we have for sale, right? And these are all signed, or at least, they're all signed. Some of them are signed and numbered. Then you can just go to books, and you can see we still have some Graybeard Studio sketchbook ash cans left from San Diego. I don't know, like 20 maybe or something like that. Now I don't know what I've got in terms of Wraith of God 2, because I know a lot of those went out in the Wraith of God 3 campaign, or going out. I know I have a bunch of them, but I don't know how many I'll have left after I fulfill. We still have some Kit Carter, a couple boxes of the Kit Carter soft covers. I got about half a box of the hard covers. You can still get Wraith of God, Blood Hunters, the Tomb of Dracula cover, Bisley, and the Tales of Suspense cover. They're limited quantities. So if you're going to get them, get them. Power Cubed, have a box of those. I don't know. I don't have many Garbage Man left unless there's a box someplace that I'm missing. But I still have some. I still have a few of the Kit Carter ash cans. I have a couple boxes left of these sketchbooks, these Kit Carter sketchbooks, which are actually pretty nice sketchbooks. So anyway, a lot of books there, and also art for sale, Kit Carter pages. There's Justice League pages. There's and no, I haven't updated it since the Kit Carter pages I put on there, but I will someday. Actually, now is the time to do it, because now that Wraith of God will be going to the printer tomorrow, I won't have anything to do till they get back and I start shipping everything. So, but anyway, check out my webpage for all sorts of fun things. That's kind of what I'm telling you. And also, if you don't know, I'm doing a Zorro miniseries for Alien Books, because I'm not going to launch Barbaric Adventures, which you see underneath my name there on the screen, which is a black and white Savage Tales type magazine that David Williams and Dan Lawless are contributing stories to. And I'm going to get a pinup out of Gary Martin for it as well. And so it'll be a black and white 64-page Savage Tales type magazine. So it'll be kind of a fun throwback thing, but I'm not starting the campaign till February, simply because I don't want to launch too close to the holidays, and we're too close to the holidays even now. And I don't want to launch anything until I fulfill Wraith of God 3, because I always know there's always people out there that are like, there's people that have come through and not fulfilled campaigns, and there's people that are still around that haven't filled campaigns. And so I want to make sure that at least we here at Empire Comics, and you can see the sign behind me there right over my head, that we deliver. And so I want to make sure that everything gets delivered. I don't like stacking campaigns. I don't like that at all. So I don't think it's fair to you guys. So anyway, Barbaric won't launch until February. And I will have a sign-up page probably sometime in November when I get some preliminary work done on the book so that, I can show some stuff. But anyway, that's what's coming up next. But in that dead period there, I got nothing to do. So I thought, you know what? I'll do this Zorro miniseries. And it's Zorro Legacy, which is a modern version of Zorro. Like he's the great-great-great-great-grandson or whatever of Zorro. And so, keep your eyes open for that. When I get more information about the publication date, it's not going to be till spring. So I'll let you know. But that's what I'm doing. Pity Moss says, I hope it's magazine size. It is. It's going to be exactly formatted like a Savage Tales or Savage Sword of Conan magazine. It will not be comic book size. It will be magazine size because I'm just that way. And so, yeah, you'll have to get, I'll ship it to you in a bag and a board, a magazine size bag and board. So it'll be the same size as Kit Carter was, except it won't be square bound. It'll be stapled or saddle stitched, as they call it, because I want it. This is just a complete nostalgia trip for me, but I will guarantee you that you're going to get some really good artwork and good stories in this book. It'd be well worth it. I think you'll really enjoy it. I can't do it on newsprint because they don't really do newsprint anymore. But what I'm trying to do is get some paper that it's heavier, nicer paper, but it kind of feels and smells like newsprint. So, I'm doing everything I can to kind of just recreate that sort of nostalgicness. And will it be a one shot? I don't know. It depends on how well you guys receive it. If you guys back it and you love it, and I'll do more. If not, I may not, but I am launching an IP called Primal Zone in this magazine. So it's not just some random barbarian story. It's actually one of my IPs that I wanted to do. And I thought this would be the perfect avenue to kind of launch that and get it out there. So anyway, that's what I'm up to. Yes. Art of Roy says ink wash. Yes. As far as I know, all three of us will be Dan will be doing his on computer because he does his stuff digitally, but it'll still look ink washed, but it'll be digital. Dave and I will be doing traditional ink wash. So yeah, I'm going to unleash my Frazetta. So it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Major corn dog, me. More Kit, Aaron. Remember when I told you how I made Dave Stevens mad at me? I'm not deflecting. I just don't know when and how I'm going to format more Kit Carter stuff. But I've got Barbaric Magazine I've been wanting to do for a long time. I've got this fantasy epic that I got to do. And then I've got to do more Wraith of God. And then somewhere in there fit Kit Carter in too. So we'll see. I keep thinking that doing something on Substack, not Substack. What's the other one? I want to say Pantheon, but that's one of the guys in the chat. What do you call? What's that? Anyway, you pay for membership, and then I would do like a Kit Carter strip every week or something like that. Patreon. And so I'm thinking about that. I just don't know. I got things going in my mind, lots of things going on in my mind. I'm trying to nail it down. Major Corn Dog says, I will buy whatever you're coming up with. Well, I appreciate that. Yes, Patreon. There it is, Marcus. So anyway, looking forward to, got a lot of stuff coming up. There's just going to be a little bit of a lull in between projects because of the holidays. But after that, it's going to be up and running again. And We'll get after it. The problem with Peter is he, number one, is doing newsprint comics, but he can do very limited runs. So they're very special edition, 100 copies, that type of thing. And he can't do magazine size. And he came on the show, and the reason he bought his own stuff to do his own printing is because the newsprint guys he was working with were driving him crazy with their lack of quality control. And so I don't want to go down that road. So I don't think that newsprint, it's cool, it's nostalgic, but if you don't have someone that's really committed to doing it right, which apparently the people he's been working with have dropped the ball, and he can't do it the size or the print run that I'm going to need. So we're going to do simulated newsprint types, aged type paper. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Travis Perrick for $2 for the next Graybeards Warhammer 40K. You guys and your video games. Thank you, Travis. David's picking the categories. I don't know if he's watching right now or not, but he'll be picking the categories, and you guys will be voting on them. So we'll see. We'll see what those categories are, and we will see what you guys end up picking. Okay. All right, so that's all the little subplots that we're going to go down. But now it's time for a little video collection, I like to call it. Yeah, we've been going 2 hours already. Man, time flies. All right. This isn't a video, it's a still, but the question is, what the heck is this? Can we tell me what the heck this is? First of all, I'm questioning whether it's real, but because I'm not sure exactly how the little feet are hanging onto the fence like that. But what are we looking at here? What is that? I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, but Jerry Rasco's like, it's just fake. He didn't care what it is. It's fake. Look at this foot. That foot ain't working for me right there. That doesn't look like that's a functional foot. So I'm thinking this is a digital creation. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that foot. That foot right there does not look, and this doesn't even look like it's the same type of foot. So I hate to start off with such blatant fakery, but I did. Now here's a little something I like to call caged Bigfoot. And well, I shouldn't come in and like pass judgment. You guys should make up your own mind. I shouldn't be the one, souring your mind. Are you kidding me? Give me a break. Oh, I just did it again. Okay, so this guy's saying, I never believed in Bigfoot until I came. This convinced you? They keep changing these shot angles, and it looks like a different creature in there every single time. That looks more like a wolf man. Yeah. So what do you guys think of caged Bigfoot? Look how small his feet are. I thought Bigfoot was supposed to have big feet. And again, small feet. I mean, it's not even a good costume. I mean, if it's digital, it's horrible. If it's a costume, it's even worse. That's not bad there, but that still looks fake. Hmm. All right, so we didn't get off to a good footing here, but thankfully for you, there's more. There's more bad video for you to experience, and I've got it for you right here. Okay, this is Backyard Bigfoot. I don't even remember what happened here. Let's take a look here. This was originally displayed on Cryptid University. All right, so we have this ghostly image right here walking. Seriously, if your backyard camera is this bad, oh, you get your money back, right? I mean, look at even the stuff in the foreground is out of focus. So here's my feeling. You guys tell me what you think. Somebody got their dad in their flannel shirt to walk out here to the shed. Maybe he has a big baggy coat on. And then they blurred the entire image. Because if this is a security camera for your backyard, you're in serious trouble. Yeah, just a homeless guy wandering around is what the folks are saying in the chat. I mean, there he is right there if you can't see it. He just bent over to pick something up. There he is right there. Right there, walking through the. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. What would Joe Biden say to that? All right. Now, I want you guys to know the next videos I'm going to show you come from a collection called The Best Bigfoot Videos of All Time. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, some of them we've already seen on this channel, so I picked the ones that I had not seen yet. Best Bigfoot videos of all time. Let's begin. This is Riverbank. The guy's going down the boat on a boat in a river, sees a little action on the riverbank, and this is what he films. And remember, this is one of the best Bigfoot videos of all time. Clear as a bell. Okay, here's the dead giveaway, if I may be such a cynic. Even the foreground is blurry. This is clearly something that was filmed and then blurred in post-production so we couldn't see it very well. Because I don't think anybody's this bad of a photographer. I mean, if you blur it like this, at least you don't have to spend that much money on a costume, I guess. I just told my daughter today, I think I'm going to splurge and get myself a Bigfoot costume, and we're going to make a Bigfoot video. I'll have her film it. And then, of course, I'll post it on one of these sites and get 1 billion views, and everybody will just go, oh my gosh, it's the most incredible Bigfoot video ever. And then I'll go, yeah, I was out there in the woods and I was with my daughter and we were terrified, but I wanted to get some footage before we ran away. And then after everybody goes nuts over it, I'll tell them I'm lying and they're all a bunch of idiots for believing me. Okay, let's see here. This one is this is the I call it the Ohio State Bigfoot because apparently this was in Ohio. Again, one of the best Bigfoot videos of all time. He's right there. You see him back there, right there, moving through the trees. See him back there? Now he's right here and his arms are stuck out and is apparently tearing down a tree. Now, if that was real, that's it. If that was real, maybe that could be a bear. You see him, of course, right in there. There he's over here. Or no, the tree's right there. Pushing on the tree. I mean, I'd like to think that something this bad is real. Because if you're trying to make something this bad, you should be admonished for it. So, like, couldn't that be a bear that the guy saw out there wandering around and then it jumps up on the tree? Because bears do that, right? Paul Taylor asks the stirring question, how are these the best? They're blurry and too far away. Well, there was like 24 of them, but we've seen most of them. Even the ones you'd consider good, we've already seen. So I had to pick the ones that we haven't shown on the show yet. And so these are like the worst of the best, I guess. I don't know. Just get that out of there. All right. This is kind of okay. That's a ringing endorsement, isn't it? This one's kind of not horrible. Let's take a look. You see him right there? Right there. Right there. So keep your eyes up there. Oh, they give us a red circle anyway. There he is. Walking through the trees. Do. Here he is. So we get to repeat it again. So he's walking there. They zip around like that. I'm not sure what the purpose of that is. It feels like a Batman TV show transition. Spinning screen. So there he is walking. And then there's his buddy. I don't know what the purpose of showing me this guy is, but apparently they were out in the woods and this is what they saw. All right. So Phil says you could do a strip every so often for your channel members. That would be cool. You know, that would be cool. I got to start doing the channel members thing. People keep asking me about it, and I just, I'll get to it. Maybe now when I have a little time, maybe I'll do it. So anyway, I don't know what to think. I mean, this could be a giant ape man living in the woods, certainly. It could be a guy in a costume living in the woods. Or it could be CGI and completely fake. What do you guys think? That guy is Bigfoot after he takes off his costume, says Paul. I mean, you kind of get a sense of weightiness of like a reality to this. I mean, it's pretty hard to, I guess, I don't know. I was gonna say it's pretty hard to like digitally do this, you know, moving between all those trees and stuff, isn't it? But it doesn't really look like anything more than a big shaggy, it could be a guy wearing a carpet. But this feels more like a guy in a costume than it does, you know, CGI. Or maybe it really is Bigfoot. And this is the video we've been waiting for. I'm skeptical, but the kind of lumbering walk through the woods, I kind of like it. I kind of like it a little bit. Feels like there's a maybe, I mean, see the arms are up. Do you see that? He's got the arms up right there. See his elbow there? I don't know. It's not a bad performance. I like how he's kind of lumbering and not really You know, the other guys just are clearly dudes in costumes, the way they walk, you know, they're trying not to trip and stuff. I don't get that sense from this thing here. But so I'll give an A for effort for the dude in the costume. James says, this is not the Bigfoot you've been looking for, Aaron. Okay. Henry Jeremic, just a costume guy. That's what I'm figuring. But he's out in the woods wearing a costume. I'll give him a little bit of credit for this one. It's not half bad. It's not half good, but it's not half bad. I still believe that I can make the greatest Bigfoot video of all time. I just gotta get on that. I make a lot of promises, you know, and I just don't. Well, I didn't promise anything. I talk a lot about stuff and then I don't do it. And that's not right. That's just not right. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. I want to thank everybody for joining me. We are 350 strong, give or take a few. And so please hit the like and subscribe if you're not a regular viewer of this channel. I greatly appreciate it. And I thank you guys for showing up because I couldn't do the show without you. So without further ado, I will say good night. Good night. Thanks for joining me, guys. See you next time right here on Aaron Live.
Corn dogs. Corn dogs. Corn dogs.